Welcome to Tea Transitions, the podcast for women who've taken the bold step to build life abroad. I'm Rose Davenport,
Hi, I'm Farah Baker.
and we are your hosts on this journey. Today, we dive into the real stories behind starting over in a new country, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. We hope our show helps you make confident choices and reminds you that you're not alone. So today, I'm honored to introduce you to my co-host, Farah Baker, and we get a chance to hear everything about her. How are you, my dear?
Hey, good morning. It's all good. Thank you.
Good, good, good. So my first question, and everybody will be interested to know this too. Tell us a little bit about you.
I am in my 50s. I work for a major airline here in the Virginia area, and my background has always been aviation. I started off in Singapore, born and bred, and I've been in aviation for about 25 to 30 years, more or less, on and off. And I suppose it's in my DNA. Tried getting away from it, and it kept sucking me back in. So I assume I'm going to retire from the airline and stop trying to find something else to do, you know. And I am married
Mhm.
to Tony and have been in the US now for 15 years.
Mm,
And I have two fur babies, Pixie and Aria. That in a gist
excellent.
is me.
Excellent. So can you share what it was like moving from Singapore to US and how that transition shaped your perspective?
Um, 15 years ago, I would say I was one of the lucky ones because social media was already in place,
Hmm.
WhatsApp was coming out,
Mm,
and there were so many, how does one put this? So many ways that my life was made easier, as
mm,
opposed to, say, someone who moved here 30 years ago. There's a vast difference there. But when I did come here, my husband had an apartment in the Washington, D.C. area. So
hmm.
I immediately relocated there. And in that sense, I was lucky because it is the city.
Mm,
So there was public transport as a non-driver that was huge.
mm,
And it was similar to Singapore in some ways.
mm.
And DC is very, very cosmopolitan. So
Yeah.
it made it easy for me to assimilate.
Hmm.
That does not mean I did not have homesickness, but it
Yeah.
made it so much easier. And I could take public transport and walk everywhere. So
Hmm.
that made my life settling into the US so much easier than if I had ended up in the boondocks or some isolated area in the United States. And
Hmm.
seriously, it can get
Yeah,
extremely
I totally
isolated in some
agree.
areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced though as a newcomer, and how did you overcome them?
My biggest challenge, biggest hurdle was not being able to work. And that was a year and a half.
Mm,
That for me was the biggest challenge in terms of settling in because I'm used to being independent. I'm used to having my own money. I'm used
yeah.
to um, going out there and
Hmm.
contributing whatever skills that I have. And that was part and parcel of who I was and who I am still. The work is very, very important to me. It
Hmm.
may not be important as in I did not cure cancer, I did not heal
Yeah.
people, but it was important to me.
Yeah.
And I very much needed that. So initially, for the first year and a half, I did babysitting. Then I realized as well that, I cannot do this,
Mm.
being with a baby 24/7, unfortunately. Um, and it was, regardless, if I had become a mother, I still think I would have worked
Yeah.
because it was just not me
Yeah.
not being able to work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
This next question is pretty personal, but I just want to touch base a little bit. Um, How did your experience as a cancer survivor influence your outlook now on your life and your approach to new beginnings?
It reminded me that I have to slow down.
Mm,
My husband used to call me the Energizer Bunny. I didn't know how to stop. I was a workaholic.
mm-hmm,
I came home after driving 45 minutes an hour, and I
mm-hmm,
can immediately start cooking dinner, and it was just me go, 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 go.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
With the cancer hitting me, and that was within the first 3 years of me being here, it really made me realize to listen to my body,
Yeah,
to understand that it's trying to tell you something. Yes, you
yeah,
can push yourself, but there are points, there are limits that
yeah,
you have to understand. And it's so, so important, especially for
yeah.
women out there, to do your self-checks. It's just a reminder, sorry. Um, and to know that as much as we have so many challenges and so much to do out there, there are times when you need to wind down and just
Mm,
slow down and just chill. So the biggest lesson for me there, maybe two lessons, is that to take everything day by day. You can only plan so much. And also to not work as hard. So I learned to take a step back when I'm at home. I do not, or at least I try not to um, check my work emails. I try not to get too involved in it. I mean,
yeah.
it has to be a conscious decision because as much as I do, you run your own business. That's even
Mm,
more of a
it's hard.
challenge.
Yeah.
But for me, I actually have to draw the line and tell myself, stop looking at your emails, stop getting involved in the work, or just draw back, draw
You pretty
back.
much sums up about what work-life balance is all about right there.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I had to
Yeah.
learn that,
It's hard for
yeah,
most of us to do it. Cool.
exactly.
Now, for most of us who knew or have made friends with Farah all these years, she is a go-to person to people like me who live quite a distance. I live 2 hours away from her. And from my observation, Farah seemed to be the connector of the community. When I say community, people introduce her to newcomers, right? A good example is she has a new neighbor that moved in, is a Japanese couple, right?
Korean.
Korean, excuse me. And she have already kind of glued the relationship in her neighborhood per se to welcome this couple. It- Automatically those two couple felt so welcomed, that kind of stuff. I want to touch a little bit on building community. So, like I said, you've connected with many newcomers in the Northern
Mhm.
Virginia area, the DC area. What advice do you offer women who are just starting their journey there?
Someone told me this some years back when she was over at my house one day for Eid, I think, or Hari Raya
Hmm.
event, and she said she met a new person at my house. And it was a young man who was from Singapore who was studying here, and he was all by himself. And it was just after COVID. And she said to me, she said, Farah, you seem to pick up strays, you know.
I'm one of
I know,
them.
right? Yeah. You seem to pick up strays and involve them in the
Yeah,
community. I said, I'm just facilitating through food and company
yeah,
to introduce people to other people,
yeah,
especially, for newcomers,
yeah.
Singaporeans, Malaysians. I'm willing to open my house
Hmm.
and entertain and put people together. Food, like music, brings people together. You know this as much as I do.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to feed, I'm happy to cook, I'm happy to entertain. So that's my little contribution to, my
Nice.
little corner of the world. Just like my neighbors, I wanted them to feel at home, to feel
Yeah,
welcome, and to introduce them to two or three of my neighbors. So I had tea at my house.
yep.
And for people out there who are starting out, believe me, open your house up, or exchange
Mm.
food.
Hmm.
It breaks barriers.
Right.
It really does, you know. I've been trying so hard with my Somali neighbors next door as well. So we carry on like tradition. They happen to be Muslims. So on the first day of Ramadan, I will cook something and just hand over. And
Mm.
it's like just an acknowledgement.
Mm.
They aren't as sociable, which I
Hmm.
understand is not for everyone. But this is what growing up in Singapore we do during Ramadan. We exchange
Hmm.
food, you know, and I miss that to a degree.
Yeah.
If you live closer, Rosie, we could exchange food.
Girl, I already have a room there. Don't even say that. Don't even have to add anything else. No.
Exactly, you know. So, point being, food
Yeah,
and music. But
I
for
see.
me, my vehicle of choice is food, and I'm willing to share my cuisine. And my neighbors, when we were in DC, we had a small little apartment, a one bedroom apartment. We had people sitting on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when they came over to
Mm-hmm.
eat. And
Mm-hmm.
I cook the way I cook, which is my
Mm-hmm.
food is extremely spicy. They're sweating, they're cursing, but they're eating, you know. And then they remember
Yeah,
the welcome that you have given them
yeah.
and the warmth. So they look forward, you know, to your invitations, to trying new food, you know.
In that process too, do you happen to go to or know of any particular resources or networks that you think helped you feel at home in this region? Sounded like you have experienced that, been there, done that, and now with the newcomers, you automatically do it. But behind the scene that we don't know, do you happen to have other resources or networks that help you along the way?
Um, Not necessarily. I
Mm.
am a very social person, you know. And again, someone else had mentioned this. If you invite me, I will try and make it.
Mm.
I never turn down an invitation. And I think that, you know, you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
If and my version of etiquette is if someone is inviting you, especially Asians, you know, we don't invite out of how does one put this? You know, for the need to say, hey, you know, come over for coffee. No, we really mean it when we
Mm-hmm.
tell you come over
Mm-hmm.
for coffee, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know what I mean here
Yeah.
because it can be rather superficial,
Yeah.
the culture here, in all honesty. And but when an Asian invites me, I know they actually are inviting me. So I make it a point to go, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
just for a short while, even if it's after work. I put myself out there. So when I invite people, they give me and honor me the same courtesy as I did them.
Mm.
And that's where my social network comes
Yeah.
in because I had a lot of invitations from Malaysians, from Singaporeans, and at those places, at their houses or their events is where I meet other
Yeah.
Singaporeans, Malaysians, Indonesian, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And
Mm-hmm.
that is how I started it all. From my little apartment in DC, inviting people over, and people were, I feel honored that people were willing to come to my
Mm-hmm.
little apartment and sit on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
mind you,
Mm-hmm.
to honor and to grace our home. So
That's
I feel
beautiful.
honored. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's how I get to know people basically.
So looking back, what are you most proud of in your journey so far?
Learning to drive, which I never thought I'd do
I
coming
think
from
all of
Singapore.
us.
I know, right? Yeah.
I failed my test in Singapore many times. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's to some people, yeah, driving is easy. Yeah, when you've driven or you know this, but
Mhm.
I've never
That's
driven. So
true.
when
Yeah.
yeah, and one of my biggest challenge because I lived in DC and I worked at the airport in Virginia. That's another state.
Mm.
It takes about 45 minutes to get from DC to Virginia driving. You have to get on the highway. So
Yeah.
when I first started working, I could not drive, but I needed so much to work and get back
Mhm.
to my industry because nobody in DC was willing to give me a job or even give me an interview. It
Right.
was so demoralizing, honestly, being in your 40s and nobody thought you could work because you've never worked in the US before. This is a real thing. You faced it, I faced it, you know?
Yep.
And So when my former airline offered me a job, I took it, even though I could not drive. I actually made a 2 hour journey one way to get to work on the bus, on the metro, and then connect the airport bus just to get to work. 2 hours one way. So that's 4 hours of my life for over
Kudos
a
to
year
you.
doing that. Yeah. Until I learned to drive. And that was a whole dramatic event because I felt like I was dying and having a heart attack every day that I was driving because I had to get
Hmm.
on the highway for 2 months until now I'm a seasoned driver. And I'd say, I know people will laugh, your biggest achievement is driving. Oh, yeah, believe me. And,
I can relate. Yeah.
I'm just, I feel I'm blessed. I
Yeah.
cannot find one particular thing that I am grateful for, or
Yeah.
that is my, I joke about the car,
Yeah.
but anyway, um simply because being a cancer survivor, I'm given another chance, and
Mhm.
everything in your life is a blessing.
Yeah.
And that's how I take it. I'm grateful for everything that I have.
So how do you stay motivated during those difficult times, both personally and professionally?
I was just happy to work, honestly.
Yeah.
I was, even though it took 4 hours to get there and back, the fact that I could get out there and reactivate
Mm.
everything that I knew and utilize my knowledge,
Hmm.
that was huge for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Not to stay stagnant and not being able to use my skills. It was, you know, uh, it was a huge part of me.
Hmm.
And I didn't care that I was being paid low wage, minimum wage, you know.
Hmm.
I just wanted an in. I remember when I first started, or rather when I was accepting the job, my husband said to me, "You're worth more than this. You
Mm.
have so much experience." I say,
Yeah.
"Yes, but you know what? I understand my situation. I'm an
Hmm.
immigrant. I know this.
Hmm.
Unlike you who are born and bred here, that's your entitlement. It's not mine.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to work, and I will do whatever I have
Yep.
to do it, you know." So for me, the motivation was, hey, I finally got a job after a
Yeah.
year and a half, which is huge. I was going to do anything and everything to make it work. To
That's
the
the
degree,
resilience in you. Yeah.
it was that or not work. And
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that. And it was such a, yet at the same time, it wasn't such a good mindset because when the cancer hit me, I was working. And the second chemo that I had, 2 days after the chemo, I felt okay. I
Mm.
thought I felt okay. Actually drove to work. I turned up at work, turned up at the door. My boss saw me, and I still remember his expression. He was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm here to work." He said, "Yeah, but you're sick. You can take." I said, "No, I feel okay. I'm gonna work." I sat down, I started working. An hour later, it hit me, the fatigue.
Jeez.
It hit me, and I was like, I turned around, I told him, "I think I have to go home now." And he said, "I still don't understand how you came to work," he said. But
What?
it was that workaholic mentality, and the fact that I didn't want to lose my job. It was strange because I wasn't gonna lose my job, but it was just me. It
Hold
was
up, hold
me.
up, hold up. And
Yeah.
Tony was okay with this? You going to work?
Of course he was not. But you know what?
Ah,
Do I look like someone he's gonna tell? No, you
that's
cannot do
another
something.
episode.
Yeah, exactly. So um I actually drove home, and it was the longest 45-minute
Good
drive of my
grief.
life because I was exhausted, I was fatigued. And then that was the point when I realized
No.
enough. You
Mm-mm.
cannot do this. Your
Yeah,
body needs the
yeah,
rest. Yeah. It was
absolutely.
it was something that had to happen to me for me
Right.
to come to that realization. Stupid, but yeah, that's me.
All right, folks. Obviously, that's not a good example. Please do not follow what this child did. Let me just tell you up front there. Golly. Kudos to you for doing it, by the way. Um, with that said, what message would you share with other women who's facing major life transitions or health challenges?
When you are technically alone with no family, I am by myself here. My husband's
Hmm.
family is 8 hours away driving,
Hmm.
a flight away in
Hmm.
another part of the US. So we technically are alone by ourselves here.
Oh, yeah.
We rely on our community and our friends, our relationships a
Yeah.
lot. I had friends who cooked for me, people
Mm.
who came and visited, people who understood my space was limited, people who offered so much, until
Yeah.
this day, I remember this. And I'm forever grateful that all those relationships have helped me
Yeah.
along on my journey, not to feel that I was all by myself.
Hmm.
When you are abroad
Hmm.
and you have no other family except your own little
Circle.
nucleus,
Yeah.
yeah, your own circle, those relationships mean a lot because
Yep.
those then in turn become your chosen family.
Yep.
And these chosen family are the ones who come out and rally around you and help you move along when
Mm.
you have a bad time. I was sick. Yeah, that was
Right.
a test. And I didn't know that many people, but that many people came out. Those who were there all
Mm.
turned out. I am forever, forever grateful. And
Nice.
also, do not isolate yourself.
Mm.
You have to put yourself out there. Unless the whole point of you moving away is to isolate yourself and further distance yourself from what you
Yeah.
know and people that you know, fair enough, but
Yeah.
I value all my relationships.
Yeah.
Until today, there are people in Singapore who would prefer if I move back.
Mm.
That's the degree of relationships I
Yeah.
have. And that I have managed to replicate to some degree
Yeah.
those relationships here because I am valued for my friendship as
Yeah.
well as my relationships as much as I value their
Yeah.
friendship and their relationships.
Nice.
So get
Beautiful.
yourself out there, get to know people, forge new relationships. And we're not just talking or just with
Yeah.
your family, with
Yeah.
your husband,
Yeah.
um, but also with other people, if you wish to.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. You live in DC. I've hang out with you in DC. I love DC. Every
Mm-hmm.
chance I can get, I'll just hop on a train and just sit in the train, drink, and just enjoy the 2 hour ride.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a specific or your favorite place or activity in DC that you can recommend to newcomers, because I know there's a lot of tourists who would say, I want to go to DC first, what would that be? If do you have a list
Oh yeah.
or your
Oh yeah.
favorite?
I love the museums in DC.
Mm-hmm.
The Smithsonian is fantastic. It's
Mm-hmm.
free. Now, if you have a family who's into history, nature, the zoo is free. The zoo
Mm-hmm.
is part of the Smithsonian, believe it or not. And one of my most favorite, this is not exactly in DC, but it's part of the Smithsonian, is the Air and Space Museum. Okay, aviation in me, I love
Mm-hmm.
aircrafts, so that draws me. But if you have children, they would love,
Yeah,
love this museum
same.
because you see actual aircrafts and hangars
Yeah,
all out there. But in DC itself, there's so much good food.
correct.
Again, for me, it's the museums that draw me.
Yeah,
That's my happy place.
excellent. Next is, I know you frequent Singapore every chance you can get today due to
Hmm.
family obligations. But if there's one thing you miss about Singapore, one, only uno, yeah, what would that be?
One, um, my relationships.
Yeah.
And people say food, yeah, food and all, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like what a friend of mine, Maya, that we know said about food in Singapore now. Number one, there's a lot of fusion
Mm-hmm.
going on. And when you move abroad, you want home.
Yeah.
So I was never a cook, okay? Understand this. When I was in Singapore, I my mother
Mm,
was my parents, both my parents are great cooks. My brother learned a lot from them. I did not. I was the sous chef. I was the one cutting up and throwing stuff. I was not a cook, but I remember those flavors. So when
mm,
I moved here, I had to start cooking and replicate those
yeah.
flavors. Alhamdulillah, I seem to have managed to do it. And as our friend Maya says, we've become such good cooks here, cooking stuff that reminds us of home. Very traditional dishes like asam pedas.
Remind
Uh,
us of our childhood food too,
yes,
comfort food.
yes.
Yeah.
My father's curries,
Mm,
uh, eating black pepper crab, things like that. Things that's cooked at home,
mm,
sambal belacan, those kind of things. So when I go back to Singapore, I realize that the food is
yeah.
not on par anymore because
Yeah.
we've become so good at cooking our
Yeah.
food here,
Yeah.
honestly. Not to brag, but
Yeah.
I have friends here from Malaysia, from Singapore, who have specialties that they can make. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
tell you.
Agree.
I can tell you who they are. I can tell you where to,
Yep.
get their food from because they're that good at replicating and making those food now because we cannot go out and get those food at a stall the way we
Agree.
do in Singapore and in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So we have to learn to do this for ourselves. So for me, the biggest thing, and Singapore changes way too fast and too much.
Mm,
There are nothing drawing me back in that sense with regards to, say, oh, my old school or
mm-hmm.
the old neighborhood that I live in, because a lot of those places don't exist anymore. Hey, this
Agree.
is Singapore for you.
Yep.
You
Yep.
come back 2 years later, there's a huge building there that was never
Totally.
there before, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, the draw is still my relationships at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Awesome. My last question. If
Hmm.
you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
To slow down, to be more chill,
Mm,
to try not to react too quickly and too fast, you know, and that covers a huge spectrum of life in
mm-hmm.
general. And I think that's part and parcel of what drives me,
Mm-hmm.
and yet at the same time is detrimental to my person.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the old adage goes, everything in moderation. And that is something that we have to hold on to. Everything in moderation.
And with that, folks, we are close to wrapping up our episode. So, Farah, would you like to do a closing?
Ladies, if today's story resonated, my story resonated with you, please subscribe, leave us a quick review, or share this episode with someone
Yeah.
who might need it.
Yeah.
That's how we grow in this community and reach out to more women on their own journeys. At T Transitions, we honor every woman's experience and every
Mm-hmm.
story that matters. As you take your next step, may there be, or rather, excuse me, may it be bold,
Mm-hmm.
strong, and true to who you are.
Yep.
Until the next time, be gentle with yourself and with others. Thank you for listening.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye for now.
Ciao.